those freedom fighters and human rights defenders in Middle East and Iran. And this year, we are going to award our annual prize to Mr. Manochehr Bakhtiari, father of Pouya Bakhtiari. As you know, Pouya was killed in November 2019 in the, as you know, it's called Bloody November. And then his father, Manouchehr Bakhtiari, stood up for his son and so many children who lost their lives because of fighting for freedom and human rights, and joined so many mothers and fathers to fight justice. And today, unfortunately, Manochehr Bakhtiari is not with us. He is in prison in a detention facility and even could not send us a message, but we received a message from Mehrdad Bakhtiari, Mr. Manochehr Bakhtiari's brother, who is also facing jail sentence, and we don't know if he was arrested today or not, but he sent a message yesterday to one of their relatives, Mr. Mohsen Sadeginur, who is here with us. And Mr. Mohsen Sadeginur himself was in jail for 6 years in Iran, in different detention centers, even prison, and in other prisons. I invite Mr. Mohsen Sadeginur to say a few words and read the message from Mehrdad Bakhtiari and Bakhtiari family. And Manouchehr Bakhtiari's brother, Mehrdad Bakhtiari, sent this message to us, and thank you, Mohsen, for reading this message, and thank you for accepting the award. I am going to invite MP Melissa Lasman, a champion for freedom and human rights, to come on stage and help me in presenting the award. Thank you.
حقوق بشر مراسمی رو به مناسبت روز جهانی حقوق بشر در پارلمان کانادا برگزار میکنه. در این مراسم با اهدای جایزه به فعالان حقوق بشر، نشستی هم با نمایندگان مجلس کانادا با محوریت وضعیت حقوق بشر
She's putting effort into this, fighting with dictators, promoting human rights, fighting terrorism, and she's a real champion, and I really admire her work, and I'm so happy that she's here with us today.
Manouchehr, I appreciate the warm welcome, and welcome to ICHR, to Parliament Hill. This is your house, and I'm always happy when you're here, and I hope that one day we are here in a circumstance where we can finally see the listing, which is more than just a listing, but the banning of the IRGC, their ability to organize, their ability to recruit, their ability to fundraise in this country. We saw an image that nobody should see in Canada in front of Parliament Hill just yesterday, where glorification of this regime happened right outside of the gates of Parliament Hill, with signs held depicting the pictures of the mullahs, everything that this country stands against, right in front of our house of democracy. We want to see these guys gone. This House voted to ban them in 2018. We haven't seen that yet. My understanding is that it has gone yet back to cabinet again, and still they have made a decision not to do it. Look, we have a terrorism problem in this country. The Prime Minister just weeks ago called an incident that we had in Montreal, Canadians faced in Montreal with the shooting of a Jewish school, and it doesn't matter if it's a Jewish school or a mosque, or a Hindu temple, or a Sikh Gurdwara, or as we saw, the burning down of churches. We see an increased amount of violence in this country against people of faith, people of an identifiable community, and people who want to live freely away from the regime that they ran away from because they want to have a better life in Canada. And it is our commitment, and it has always been our commitment, and it will remain our commitment to ensure that you live safely here. There is nothing that we can do to turn back the clock on what you have gone through, on the fact that you haven't seen your son in 2 years, and the fact that you spent years in prison, and the fact that your wife and your family and everybody is under a constant threat. But there is something that we can do in Canada, is to make sure that you have a life, not only where you can afford a home and send your son to the best school and have him do whatever he wants to do in this country, but do it in a way where it's safe and that you're not under threat and intimidation in your own community. That is our primary responsibility. And if this government won't do it, we will replace them with a government that will. And that's our commitment to you. That's our commitment to you as a new Canadian. That's our commitment to your family. And that's a commitment to the entire Persian community. And we are in this fight together, not just for a war that is happening thousands of kilometers away, but for a war for civilization against barbarism. And we know that the culprits of barbarism live in Tehran. The tyrants of Tehran are a destabilizing force not only to Iran, not only to the region, but the entire world. And we're not going to allow them to take us backwards 500 years so that we can't live safely in this country. So it remains my commitment to you. We will continue to fight it every single day that we are here. In fact, this is where I just was at our Justice Committee, bringing forward a motion that hopefully is reported to the House, where we can continue to pressure the government to do the thing that they told us that they would do, and make that first step in trying to keep everybody safe. So thank you for always having me. And, I know that we have an ally in our friend Kevin, and an ally in many MPs here who believe that there is a right side of history and a wrong side of history. And we want to make sure that we continue to fight for the right side of history.
Thank you so much, MP Lansman. We have political prisoners, former political prisoners, human rights activists. Ahmed Sadr spent 6 years in jail. Negar as well. We have Mr. Mirza Zari. He lost his son Arad in PS-75 flight from 2 missiles of IRGC. And we have Mr. Reza Amin, his brother, brutally killed 3 years ago in Richmond Hill in Canada, unfortunately.
We just gave an award to well, we just did a memorial for his brother.
Yeah, I was there. And we are all here to reflect the voice. We are seeking justice. We know Canada cares about human rights. Canada promotes peace globally. But we have challenges, unfortunately, and I know that people like you in the House will make this happen, will help us to find the justice. Before I go to each of you, I have Dr. Abdulmuttalib here as well to make a comment and participate in discussion. I would like to ask MP Kevin Wong to join us and say a few words.
I want to thank everyone for having me. I knew Melissa before she got elected, so I can reassure you that if she says something, she will deliver on it. And you know, there's this fight for justice, for democracy, and for human rights is very personal, I think, to each and every one of you, and it's personal to me. On flight PS-752 was one of my friends, Amit. He was a passenger just like Mirzad's son was, and they were murdered by a regime who thinks that with the passage of time, we might forget their crimes. And I'm here to tell them because we know, unfortunately, they're watching as well, that we will not forget your crimes. We will hold you accountable. And so that's why in the House, I'm proud to be able to stand up with people like Melissa, like, frankly, members of your official opposition and the Conservatives who will hold them accountable, at least here on our soil. Our friend Garnet Genius put forward a bill, C-350, which will do what the government has failed to do. And I'm proud to be one of the individuals who have jointly seconded that bill. And it's important to note that another seconder is actually a leader of the Conservatives. And so again, I think they will walk that talk if this government does not wake up to the real threat that the IRGC presents to Canadians here and now. For me, it's hard hearing, some of the stories to hear that you were away from your son for 2 years, in part because my family, in our own history, my grandfather was a prisoner. My uncle was a prisoner of war when they were fighting the communists back in Vietnam. And so this is not only personal for me because my friend Amin was on flight PS 752, it's a continued fight for human rights that goes back in my own family, multiple generations. So I'm here to reassure you that I will continue to stand with you and your community, with Melissa and everyone in the House, to ensure that we get justice for everyone who the regime has terrorized and continues to terrorize today.
Thank you. We invited MP Garnet Genius to join us today and talk about the Bill C-50. Unfortunately, he wasn't available, but I want to put this question to you. Do you have details about this bill and the process, and what are the next steps?
Yes, certainly we will not forget this name. In fact, I'm already going to Bakhtiari.
Just one word, we should talk about his Pouya's mother, not his Shirfisha.
Well, Manouchehr is going to send us something, and we will make sure that that name is mentioned in committee and on the floor of the House of Commons, so that we are not going to do anything again to turn back time and give you the freedom that the regime stole away from you. But we can memorialize him for the rest of history in this House, and his name will be forever in the books of Canada as somebody who was recognized as a political prisoner.
Thank you very much.
مرکز یکی از مواردی که در این نشست به آن اشاره شد دخالت عوامل جمهوری اسلامی در انتخابات کانادا است.
Seen an uptick in intimidation and in tactics that the regime uses against the communities in our own country. That includes things like money laundering. It includes immigration practices that allow regime activists to come here. And what we need to do is we need to start from the top. We need to ban the IRGC, ban them from organizing, from recruiting, and from raising money, and making sure that we stop every channel in which the regime brings money to Canada. We've seen a great increase in money exchanges in this country, and we need to get to the bottom of what's happening in there, what's coming in, who's coming in, and what they are doing to Canadians.
در این مدت اقدام قابل توجهی را شاهد بودیم. بر سر طرح ثبت مشخصات عوامل دولت‌های خارجی چه آمد؟ چرا سپاه پاسداران
جلسه مرکز بین‌المللی حقوق بشر در کانادا امسال در پارلمان کانادا در اتاوا برگزار شد و جایزه خودش رو به منوچهر بختیاری